Well, I was really, really hoping that today would be a nice day. I was really hoping. Well, you're going to have to come in. You are going to come in. I don't care if you'll be squished. Come in. You are making things difficult. I've had enough to deal with already, let alone you complaining about being squished in here. Now get inside. I know my house is just terrible, isn't it? Because I don't have enough space. Yep. It's crap that I have to renew and that I have to get more space for. Yeah. Okay. Just deal with it, please. I was hoping that today would be a good day. I had plans made that, that I would have somebody come here and I would welcome him in and I would play a couple songs and I would, celebrate him because his birthday is tomorrow. And I would also bring in Zach, the new version of him born on April 23rd, and honor him as well with Justin, the person that I will bring in. But unfortunately, that's not the case because I don't feel in the mood. I do not feel in that type of mood. I don't. However, things have already been underway, and I do believe that he will be coming. And you know what? I don't want to even get into, the whole deal that he had to go through. A majority of people who come here at the Invention have to be cloned because that is the real purpose of it. If we did not have those machines, then we would not have people here because everybody has their own lives to live. You can't expect them to just drop everything and come here to the Invention. No, they come here or they come wherever is the closest place to, the Invention with a cloning machine, and they get cloned, takes 1 second, they get off, and then they go away. And then they live their lives and enjoy their times. Let me tell you something. That I am not somebody who believes in, holding things inside. I'm not somebody who does things just because, I'm somebody who does things because I'm in the mood to do those things. I am in the mood to do those things at that time, so I will do them. And, what I say I mean, and I feel what I say, and I know what I'm saying. I don't do things out of, just selflessly supporting others here at this Minton. They come from my heart. I do them because I feel for the person, and I feel like I want to say this, I want to do this. Believe me, you would not be here in this house if I wasn't feeling like having you all here, in which case I do. And I can't promise that it's going to happen like that all the time. There may be times where you might not come here every day at a certain time. It will really, really just depend. It will really depend upon a lot of things. Let me tell you, that the one thing that I cannot stand is teachers who try to be like others. When you have one person at a building who is already teaching, then and if it is in a certain resemblance or a certain, personality, then that is really all that you need. It is the combination of being here at home, doing and learning Spanish remotely, and all the trillion other things that I have to deal with. Less is more. If I had less subjects, then I'd be able to put more in for each one. Nope, not the case. Serve all of those subjects like you're serving all of those courses at a Thanksgiving table. Those lots. The only difference is that Thanksgiving is so much better, as you all know, and as I trust that all of you agree with. Now, you know that some things may be technical and complicated. But let me tell you that one of the ways that you can get along in this world is by looking at the big picture of something. That is so incredibly important. That is so incredibly important. That is going to be a major game changer. If you can look at the big picture of someone's work and not judge it wrongly by the little details, then that is going to really, really take you so much farther in life. In this case, it has to do with a foreign language. Some things may be difficult, and some things may be inconsistent. But the important thing is that you try your hardest, and you don't judge yourself over that, but you try your hardest. Let me tell you something. That trying your hardest at something, that's where it stops. That is where it stops. Let me tell you that I am the only person who at all judges myself, particularly for the next 6 years. It's very, very disrespectful to judge others over something that they put so much effort to take the time out of their day and put forth effort into doing. Some things you don't have the mood and mindset for. And I knew what I was doing. And I'm sure that you've had a situation like that in the past, where you've taken a test at either Kindlick or another school, or it could be like, it doesn't have to be a test like at school, or in school. It can be something else where you really, really think about something critically with all that you have. Where one decision, say if you were, if you have this certain problem and this certain conjugation, and you're unsure about it because you have two choices and they both look, they may look differently, but they look almost exactly the same. and it looks like, and it looks like that makes sense. And then you have another option that may also make sense. You're sitting there indecisive. One of the things that I can tell you is sometimes indecisiveness can kind of falter you because you're sitting there weighing this and that. And that takes up more time and more mental energy, and then that takes longer. And then you have other things to do, and then time in the day gets later. So sometimes you have to be decisive about it. And I will have no, negotiations about that, particularly today. Sometimes you have to be decisive. When you're sure about it, do it. And when you can't decide it, by goodness, do a coin toss. And so that is what I did. Some things may be trickier than others. And maybe there were a couple things that might have been wrong. What more can I do than to work so hard and try so hard and only get 11 out of 20? And apparently 11 out of 20 is failing. That's not my concern. That's not my concern. That's the concern of the teacher who is so imitational, I cannot even begin, who plays a little avatar called Profe Liston, who goes to a district, who, that coincidentally has somebody else there before him that was in resemblance to him, that I honestly believe that he would be way better of a person. I just think that, way back in 5th grade, I had the issue with a teacher that was mean. Now I have the issues with teachers that are critical and shallow. That's what I have the issues with. Let me tell you that from the very, very beginning, I was questioning whether he was a Spanish teacher. And he didn't seem like a Spanish teacher. He seemed like someone who would work with technology. Compared to what I got. And it doesn't even have to be somebody that, was born and raised in a native Spanish-speaking country and lived most of their life in that country and got used to the language and culture, raised into that firsthand. It doesn't even have to be that person. That's wonderful if it could be somebody like that, but it can be anybody else. I would be satisfied with anybody else. But I don't think that now I trust teachers out of that particular room. And I don't think that I trust teachers who prove that sometimes they build too many red bricks. Sometimes when I look at random words, it is so strange because you know what? I can hear a stereotype of somebody in my mind. Let me tell you something. It is so annoying. And it's about to be negative night at the museum because you may be acting and you may be playing this role of a teacher. But are you? Because I'm really, really questioning whether you really are. If you put yourself in that situation, and if you go to a certain district and you teach in the middle of a pandemic with somebody else there, and it depends upon the person. But I just, and this is my opinion, but that's, there should only be one person. And then the other person should be very, very different. I just find that resemblance is so infuriating. I can remember one day where I came into that choir room and I asked the teacher a question in Spanish, and he was like, "Oh, what are you doing?" I was saying Spanish. Now you realize that he asked kindly and informally and didn't judge me and did not, anything. Well, for starters, he didn't teach Spanish, but, that's a given already, so you shouldn't even have to use that reason. But it should be like that. not a teacher that is so particular, and not a teacher who does not understand that maybe as a remote learner, I may have the priorities, having this and having that to do. And then you give a quiz to do, and then you give it only that day to do, and then I'm frustrated because I have this and that other to do, and it's Friday, and I try, but apparently maybe the emotion and maybe the anger just kills your performance. And maybe I might not be good enough. I try very, very hard. I try very, very hard. And let me tell you, I find that offensive. I cannot overlook the fact that I find that offensive. And I'll bring it up again because of Deborah's wonderful ability to make astrology practical. And the reason why I bring it up so much, you're wondering, why didn't I incorporate and everything else? Well, astrology is one of those kind of universal things that ties into so many things. So yeah, I will bring it up and I won't feel bad about it. My Saturn return is in Virgo, which is a sign that is already high strung and already conscious and already critical, and the perfectionist and the detail oriented personality. Let me tell you that I was watching an interview of Michael Jackson, who went through life and had a sort of skin disorder, if you've seen Michael Jackson. And you know what? People cannot appreciate him for his songs, for his gifts, and for his artistry. They don't appreciate that. They don't appreciate him for that, and they can overlook that. Instead, they judge him for his skin color and other things like that. That, he was a black man, and, if you look at him, you're saying, who is this person? That's, that's very, very strange. But you know what? I have, just wonderful, compassion for him because I share some similarities with my interest in music and art. He was born the exact same day as a friend of mine. And also, I just think that it's wrong to judge somebody over something that they already feel uncomfortable about. So strange, and yet the whole world is turning against him and, making up these lies and being just shooting darts in all directions for something that, you know what, he didn't color or bleach his skin. That just happened. And he gets that kind of backlash. And you know what? He stays inside his house. He's introverted because the world, some people might turn against him. Isn't that sad? That somebody has to live that kind of a lifestyle where people can't look at the big picture and look at the positive and the wonderful things that he tries to do, and look at the talents only, and don't, and you can look at those other things too, because you need to look at those things because that's part of it. There's no denying that his change in skin is not part of it. It is part of it, but it's not part of it. That does not matter. Think of, there was a very, very popular, very famous, I think Mozart was his name, and he was deaf in, one ear, I think, or, whoever, somebody like that, but he was a famous classical musician. And to this day, he is celebrated for his music. And, and maybe that's a gift. Maybe you are so lucky if you have gone through something very, very terrible, because you experienced it. You experienced that, and you had kind of the pleasure in disguise. And I say, opposite pleasure, because obviously it wasn't a pleasure. As you know, I shouldn't even have to explain that. And, also Michelangelo. And he brought it up. Don't take my word for it. Go on and see the Oprah interview. I'm just, I'm just going off of what he said. He said that there are people that sit in the sun and have their skin color change, and Michelangelo was celebrated for his artistic abilities, not the fact that maybe something in his life that was personal and that was private and people did not respect, you know, he was remembered for that. And the reason why I bring these things up is maybe they don't exactly tie into the situation right here and right now, but they may do somewhat. Maybe a video on Call Up Baron Reed on, beginning your spiritual path may not have to do with, apocalyptic things and the road and what you learn in English. But you know what? The importance is that I felt like doing that. And I knew what I was doing, and I really cared, and I was offering something out to my teacher as a new perspective, as you all know. You know, and that for these things I tried. I tried. Let me tell you that it should be in my dreams that somebody who is an imitation or whatever, all the traits of Nathan would be in my dreams. I wish that that were the case. And since Spanish 2 is, again, to add to that, the hardest class, the hardest Spanish class, because there's so many different conjugations, let me tell you that somebody like that is not the person. Not the person. If you're dealing with things like language and history and English and, music doesn't matter, but if you're dealing with, particularly like English, then it has to be somebody with depth. And let me tell you something that, I may have misjudged, my, English teacher. I may have, I don't think that I know him very, very well, and I just went off of that. And I don't, believe that, he would be that. I just didn't get to know him yet. But I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about this right now. I should have had somebody else. And I should have been in that classroom. Well, you can blame it on all the other things that I had to do besides Spanish. You can blame it on COVID. Let me tell you something right now, that if you think that I'm going to go in there just so that I can learn Spanish, and be focused on not only that, but also the other classes and learning and education, with risking my health and wearing something over my face that could really, really, distract me, and it's very, very uncomfortable, and it's very disgusting, then you had better think again. That's the last thing I'm going to do. And let me tell you, I am so thankful that I made the decision to go remote. And let me tell you, if that wasn't an option, oh, it would be an option. I would poke and prod until I would be remote. That's what it would be. That's what it would come down to. Because let me tell you, you have your intuitions. Let me tell you, I would give myself the big fat told you so if I did not go remote. But unfortunately, that's hard. And I don't need to hear from somebody who is a phony, somebody who is an imitation, and like somebody else that I like and know a heck of a lot better, and judging me for those types of details. I don't appreciate, and it's not for anyone. I'm not talking about family. I'm not talking about you know those types of people at all. I am talking about teachers. I am talking about teachers. That's what I'm talking about right now. So I just needed to get that out of my system. that maybe the person who takes the quiz didn't do so well. But you need to give and take. Have you, like, I'm sure that you've all heard of give and take. As much as it works for relationships, it also works for student-teacher relationships. Give and take. I do my best and I attempt the best that I know with the amount of time that I was given, with what I was given, and my mindset that I was given. And you need to compromise and you need to be patient and accepting of, oh, maybe, I might not do so well. And maybe, oh, I have the time, I don't utilize it. Well, I have other classes to do. That's not the only one. To say that an 11 out of 20 is an F is absolutely ridiculous. That is claptrap. That is pathetic. That is pathetic. A 1 out of 20 or a 0 out of 20, that would probably be failing. But an 11 out of 20, no way. That is ridiculous. Let me tell you that I don't, and that's another thing that adds on to that whole can of worms. That whole can of worms. Let me tell you, if I was a real teacher, the last thing I would do is be so picky and so particular and so unempathetic and so selfish and just all those other things. And so ridiculous and so, just that's not legitimate to put, say that. That is just not. And that's kind of, that's a huge part of, being a teacher is, really, really, putting yourself outside of yourself. I'm not saying rack your brain to try to imagine yourself, but, as humans, matter-of-factly speaking, and I agree with this, that, we are naturally, trained to do that because that's really how we get along in the world, that we think of others. But sometimes we, do not do that, and we got caught up because of everything else like that. And it is very, very tough. It's very tough still. Well, I don't want to say that. But, I'm juggling a lot of things. The teacher's juggling a lot of things. But, just like you're trying to do the best you can, you also have to understand that the student who is remote is doing the best that he can. And she can, depending on the gender. Let me tell you that you can't just go off of the students in class and then have it exactly equal to the ones remote, because they are different things, and it does go different ways. Try as I might, it is hard to really, really focus at home. And you know what? And that's just the truth of it. And that's really the lesson that I want to tell you about. Don't you ever, if you become a parent, or if you are a teacher, or if you are a friend, to say, you used to study so well, why aren't you studying, is kind of not thinking of the other person. It's a little, apathetic in extremes, but I don't want to call it that. I just want to call it not thinking about the other person before you said that. Before you would have said that. Maybe I'm just not cold and detached enough with all the stuff that I have to do that has no meaning, and that's not profound as it is. And I've been craving for something that is profound, and that is going to be meaningful and going to have a lasting impact. But nope, con, with all the things that I have to do. This, you have to make sure that you're doing this correctly. Oh, you have to check the details for this thing, for this spreadsheet and business tech that I take a whole lot of time out of the day to do. That's a huge part of it, and all the other things like that. Yep. Be on the surface and, don't, enjoy it. Just do it just to get it done. Yep. And, that's, I, I do not appreciate that. I do not appreciate that whole thing. I do not. I do not. Mm-mm. No. And that's sad and infuriating. That's a shame. It's sad that, I feel like when I want to slow down and when I want to focus, there's other things that come up. And, you know, and that's just natural, and all the things that I have probably talked about before. And you need to know what is, legitimate, but also kind as well. And I think that sometimes we need to put the kind first, and I think that sometimes we need to think of others and look at the big picture and not judge others. Not judge others with, having such high standards. Let me tell you, I don't think that that's my problem. That is not my problem. Let me tell you that if you want to come in here and judge me over that, then you're barking up the wrong tree. Even if you waited 6 years, I'd say that you were still barking up the wrong tree. So, there's so many different dynamics to all of that kind of go together. There's so many different things. And I think that I've explained them all. And if I went on and went on and went on, then you know what? I did what I felt like doing. And you heard all the things that I said. Okay?